guys, in today's video I have an entire marathon of St. Patrick's Day themed lunches to share with you. All of these lunches are super fun and festive, but they're still easy to make. Now if you can't tell, St. Patrick's Day is one of my favorite holidays of the entire year, and stay tuned you guys because I'm going to share with you a little backstory to explain why it holds a special place in my heart. Come along with me today as I share a ton of festive snacks, sweet treats, and of course a lot of green food. I can't wait to share it all with you. I'm Jennifer and welcome to the Family Fudge. For today's lunch, I'm going to be making a holiday tradition. Anytime there's a holiday or a birthday, I put some variation of fairy bread on my menu plan. And of course, for St. Patrick's Day, I'm going to be trying to make a shamrock version using these heart-shaped cutters. Now, I know I've shared how to make a peekaboo sandwich on this channel quite a lot. I'm going to cut out all of my heart shapes first, and then I'm going to go back with a smaller sized heart-shaped cutter to create that peekaboo window. So now for these sandwiches, I'm just adding good old peanut butter, and once I have the piece of bread on top, I can go ahead and add on some St. Patrick's Day sprinkles. So now in each box, I'm going to add 3 of these little heart-shaped sandwiches to form a shamrock, and I've also saved a little piece of the crust to put right here at the bottom. Now I think that turned out super cute. Next, I'm going to move on to the fruit, and for today's lunch I'm going to be making some melon balls, and I decided to go with cantaloupe because it's that bright orange color I'm going for. And I'm actually going to be doing a combination of big cantaloupe balls and tiny cantaloupe balls. I think that's a really fun looking combination. So now that I have those in there, I'm going to move on to the back section, and in here I'm going to add a combination of both carrots on one side and some pieces of celery on the other, and then I've saved the section in the middle for string cheese. So as you can see, we have the orange and the green and the white to represent the Irish flag. And now finally, for today's treat, I'm going to add in one single little mini cupcake. Now I totally cheated and I just bought these at the store. They're already ready to go, and one little cupcake fits perfectly inside each lunchbox. Another fun idea is to make a shamrock peekaboo sandwich. Again, this is another super simple but special lunch idea, and it's based on the old-timey fluffer nutter sandwich, which of course is just peanut butter, and then instead of jam, you add marshmallow cream. To make this more of a St. Patrick's Day theme, I am going to add just a little bit of green food coloring to the marshmallow cream, and then I'm going to put both the marshmallow cream and the peanut butter into some little sandwiches. Now, if you don't have a shamrock shaped cutter, you could go ahead and use some heart-shaped cookie cutters. Now today I want to pack a hot lunch for the kids. I actually gave my kids the choice between 2 different foods that I found at Aldi. The first one is an Irish style banger, and as far as I know, a banger is like a sausage. We've had British style bangers before and we loved them, and I'm not exactly sure what the difference is between those and these Irish style ones are. And then for the second choice, I had these really interesting corned beef Reuben bites. So these kind of look like a chicken nugget, but they're made of corned beef and they're filled with sauerkraut and cheese. Now that sounds really interesting to me, but I'm not really surprised that my kids chose the bangers instead. So I'm just going to heat these up until they're warmed through and a little bit crispy on the outside. And before I add them into the thermoses, I'm going to add a little bit of mashed potatoes. I think that'll be a delicious combination, and I'm hoping that all of my kids will like it. Now moving on to today's fruit, I decided to go with kiwi. I gave the kids kiwi in their lunch last week and they loved it, so I'm adding it in again today. Plus, I love that vibrant green color. I think it looks really pretty in the lunchbox. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add a combination of carrot and cucumbers, and I did go ahead and cut these out with my little 4-leaf clover cutter. Of course, I'm also adding some ranch on the side for the kids to dip them in. And then finally for this lunch, I'm also going to be adding in some really special sugar cookies. I found these at Target and I think they are so cute. Target always has the cutest sugar cookies around the holidays. So now to get this bread to fit better in my lunchbox, I did go ahead and trim off a little bit of the crust, and I also trimmed the inside so that these pieces would be shaped more like a rainbow. So now it's finally time to build these sandwiches. I'm gonna start by adding a thin layer of mayo, followed by a few slices of cheddar cheese. I just cut these into little squares so that they would fit better on the bread. And then last but not least, sliced corned beef. Now these pieces are rather large, so I'm just going to be adding one to each sandwich. That is plenty. Now normally on a corned beef sandwich you might also put like mustard and sauerkraut. My kids are not having that, so I'm just going to add a little bit of mayo to the other piece of bread. I'll add a little bit of mustard for Lily's, and that is it. Super cute rainbow sandwiches. Oh yes, and I do want to go ahead and add a really cute little shamrock pick right into each sandwich. That way they hopefully won't fall apart in the lunch boxes. So now that our colorful main course is done, I'm going to move on to the fruit. And for a lot of the fruits and veggies this week, I decided to go with orange and green things in honor of the Irish flag. So for the fruit, I just cut up some little orange triangles, and I'm going to add them in the front section. And then for the vegetable, I'm just going to take this big old cucumber. I'm going to cut 3 chunks about this size, and then I'm going to carefully remove about half of the skin of the cucumber. This is exactly what you need to do if you want to make a checkerboard pattern on your cucumber. Now I'm just going to cut these into slices, and then when I add it into the lunchbox, I just turn every other slice of cucumber to make that checkerboard pattern. And then just for fun, I'm also going to add one little carrot in the shape of a 4-leaf clover. To go along with the veggies, you guys guessed it, I'm also adding a small container of ranch. And then for the kids' snack today, I'm going to be adding in some of these rainbow goldfish crackers. And then for the kids' treat, I'm going to add in some gold. Well, gold coins that is. Well, chocolate gold coins, that is. I know my kids are going to be super excited to see these. I'm going to go ahead and give each kid just 2 of these. I think that is plenty. And I'm going to kind of hide them underneath their ranch container, so it'll be a really fun surprise. And now to complete today's lunch, I'm just going to be giving the kids water for their drink. Okay guys, 1 lunch down and 2 to go. Now you guys will have to let me know in the comments down below if you celebrate St. Patrick's Day or not. Autumn from Australia, and for her, we are going with a Lucky Charms theme. Now starting with Autumn's sweet treat first, she asked for Lucky Charms cereal. But instead of just the cereal, I went ahead and made some Lucky Charms bark. And you guys, this is so easy, it is delicious and a little bit addicting. Here's how I made it. I started by breaking up some of these almond bark squares. I put those into a microwave safe bowl, and I heated these up for 30 seconds at a time until they were completely melted. Then, to my cookie sheet, I poured out about 3 cups of regular Lucky Charms cereal. Now these days, you can find mini Lucky Charms, chocolate Lucky Charms, s'mores Lucky Charms, and for you Marvel fans out there, I even heard that they made a Loki Charms version. Now of course, you can use whatever variety you prefer, but for this bark, I went with the classic cereal. Oh yes, and as you can see, I did pick out a good amount of the marshmallows to save for later. Once I had the chocolate melted, I just dumped it all over the cereal and I started to combine. I wanted all of the cereal coated in the chocolate. But at this point, I knew I had messed up. I totally forgot to put down some wax paper or some parchment paper first. So I did have to do a little switcheroo. Once I had this all spread out, I decorated the top with those extra marshmallows, some extra cereal pieces, and of course some extra rainbow sprinkles. Now I popped this in the fridge for about 15 minutes until it was nice and set up, and then once it's hardened, you can go ahead and peel it off the wax paper and break it into small pieces. You guys, this is crunchy and sweet, but it's not too sweet. It is so easy but so good. And strange fact about me, you guys, when it comes to Lucky Charms, I prefer the cereal over the marshmallows. I think most people would have it the other way around. So now back to the main course of Autumn's lunch. She asked for a turkey and pesto sandwich. Now I'm gonna make this in a really fun shape, but more on that in just a bit. To make the pesto spread, I'm just using some room temperature cream cheese and some of our favorite Costco pesto. I'm just gonna mix this together. That's gonna go on the bread, and on top of that, I'm also adding some thinly sliced cucumber. This adds so much freshness and lovely crunch to the sandwich. Next, I'm adding some smoked turkey and a slice of Colby Jack cheese. And you guys, now comes the fun part. Now I'm gonna get this sandwich into our lunchbox and then move on to the fruit and veg. And for these, I'm going to cut them into Lucky Charms style shapes. So for green, that's going to be a kiwi clover. For yellow, I'm going with a pineapple star. And for orange, I'm adding some carrot hearts. Next, for a salty snack on the side, Autumn suggested some veggie chips. And I was thinking I would just add the green ones, but as you can see, they're really not that green. And then next to those, I can add in some of the Lucky Charms bark. Just a few little pieces will do the trick. And now finally, for the drink, Autumn requested a Capri Sun. So I went with the strawberry kiwi flavor. Okay guys, next up, I'm making a lunch for my son Jackson, and this time I'm starting with the sweet treat first. I just put together some adorable pot of gold cupcakes. Here's how I made them. I started with a shortcut from the store, which I think is a super great hack if you're short on time. I picked up some of these mini cupcakes from the grocery store. That way, all I needed to do was make the pots of gold. This is such a fun treat that you could definitely make with kids. All you do is take some Rolo candies, you unwrap them of course, then you squirt a little bit of melted chocolate chips right on the top of each one. Then you take some golden sprinkles, I like these ones that look like gold coins, and you dip each one like this. After the chocolate hardens, you're left with these super cute little pots of gold. I'm going to add one to the top of each mini cupcake, followed by a tiny rainbow sour candy right next to it. These little treats would be so fun to make at a class party or any kind of youth gathering. So now back to the main course of Jackson's lunch. For this, I'm going to need some green spinach and herb tortillas. I'm going to use my Shamrock cookie cutter to cut these out, and I will go ahead and link the one I'm using down below. Now I'm gonna make these into quesadillas by adding a slice of cheddar and a slice of mozzarella. And you guys, the trick to these is to just barely melt the cheese. Otherwise, it's going to ooze out everywhere. Next, for the fruit, I'm adding a clementine, and I like to cut the tops off. It makes it easier for the kids to peel, and it looks really pretty. Then right next to that, I'm going to add a rainbow of bell peppers. Now Jackson is my kid that loves bell peppers. In fact, he's been known to bite into them whole and eat them like you would an apple. For a salty snack on the side, I'm going to add some of this lesser evil golden butter popcorn. This stuff is so good. It's one of my favorite snacks, although I did expect it to be a little bit more golden in this lunch. Then next to that, I can go ahead and add in one of those pot of gold cupcakes. And then for the drink, I have a rainbow of choices, but I'm gonna go with the green one, which is a kiwi lime flavor. Okay guys, now that brings me to a lunch for my daughter Lily. Now for her, I'm going with an all green theme for St. Patrick's Day. For Lily's main course, she asked if she could just have her favorite buttered Parmesan noodles. But this time, instead of using spaghetti like I normally would, I picked up this protein style bow tie pasta. Now once the water is boiling, I'm gonna go ahead and add in some salt. I'll add in the pasta, and then to turn this green, I'm going to use just a few drops of this natural food coloring. And you guys, this brand actually uses veggies and spices to add the color to your food. Now once the pasta is cooked and drained, but still hot, I'm going to add in some Irish butter, some salt, and some Parmesan cheese. And now this next addition might sound odd, but it's something that Lily really likes. I'm gonna sprinkle in some edamame. Now I'm going to add this into her lunchbox and then move on to the green fruit and veggie. First, I'm adding in some kiwi, followed by some celery. But for the two top pieces, I'm going to use some veggie cream cheese and some more edamame, and this is to make something that we call frogs on a log. Now this is just like ants on a log, but instead of peanut butter, I'm using cream cheese, and instead of raisins, I'm using edamame. Next, for a snack on the side, I was able to find some of this green sage cheese from Aldi. And speaking of Aldi, they actually have quite a lot of St. Patrick's Day themed foods right now. So if you are looking, definitely check Aldi if you have one near you. Then also in this lunch, I'm adding some of these green harvest pea crisps. And then for the sweet treat, Lily and I put together some of these fun chocolate mint cookies. Now these cookies I also picked up at Aldi, and they're kind of like knockoff Oreos. All we did was take some green melting chocolate, and once we had that nice and smooth, we dipped each cookie in about halfway. Then we finished them off with some St. Patrick's Day sprinkles. I stuck these in the fridge for about 10 minutes so that they would set up, and now they're ready to go. And then last but not least, for Lily's drink, I'm adding in a lemon lime Olipop, which if you're not familiar is actually a probiotic drink. Now friends, if you have a lunch idea you would like to send in, you can go ahead and use the link in the description box below. Now, if you are an OG subscriber of the Family Fudge, you'll know that I love St. Patrick's Day, I did Irish dancing as a teen, and yes, I still have my costume. A St. Patrick's Day recipe was actually the very first video I ever posted to this channel, and when it comes to St. Patrick's Day treats and lunches, I still like to go all out to this day. Definitely check out these videos if you're looking for more fun food ideas. But anyways, enough story time. I'm actually going to start with a sweet treat first. And for this, I'm making some Lucky Charms Shamrock bark. Now I like to call this Shamrock bark because I'm going to be using some mint Oreos as the base. And of course, mint always makes me think of the Shamrock shake at McDonald's that's popular around this time of year. Now friends, this is not really a recipe, it's more just a method. It's totally customizable. You could make more, you could make less, but basically you're going to need a non-stick pan. Next, I'm going to start twisting my Oreos in half. And I don't know what's up with this batch of Oreos, you guys, but almost every other cookie was either already broken or broken half as I was trying to twist them apart. But you know what? This is bark. We're gonna end up breaking it up anyway in the end. It's totally fine. So once I have all of the Oreos laid out, it's time to melt the chocolate. And I'm actually going to need 2 of these. These little wafers melt so easily in the microwave. I heat them up for 30 seconds at a time, and I make sure to stir them so they don't burn. Now once your chocolate is melted, you can go ahead and pour it all over the Oreos and then carefully spread it out. And now here comes the fun part. You can pretty much top this with whatever you like. I'm going for some green M&Ms and then plenty of the St. Patrick's Day green Lucky Charms. Now I know that Skylar loves Lucky Charms, especially when you make them like Rice Krispie treats, and I love those too. Then I'm gonna finish this off with plenty of green sprinkles. This looks so good, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and set this in the fridge so it can harden up while I move on to the main course. For this lunch, Skylar requested St. Patrick's Day themed quesadillas. So for this, I'm using both green spinach tortillas and regular ones. And I'm gonna cut these out using this Shamrock cutter that I found on Amazon. And you guys, this set is really nice because it comes with lots of different sizes. And that is perfect because after I cut the cheese, I'm going to use a smaller cutter to cut out a little peekaboo window on the top piece of tortilla. Now I'm actually going to throw these in the oven, and I'm going to heat them up until they're just barely melted. I don't want to cook these too long because if I do, that cheese is just going to ooze out and get everywhere. Next, for her fruit and veggies, Skylar asked for lots of green things. First, I'm adding some kiwis, followed by some grapes. And then for the cucumbers, I'm gonna cut these into 4-leaf clovers. And you guys, yes, there is a difference between a shamrock and a 4-leaf clover. To go along with these, I'm also going to add in some ranch. Next, for a salty snack on the side, Skylar asked for Cheez-Its, and these are the extra cheesy ones. And then of course for the sweet treat, we have the Shamrock bark. These were in my fridge for only about 10 minutes and they're already ready to go. All I have to do is break up the pieces and try to fit them as best I can into the lunchbox. If you love chocolate and mint together, you would love this one. Now to go with the Shamrock bark, Skylar also suggested some chocolate coins. Now I love these for St. Patrick's Day because of the whole Leprechaun and pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and all of that. So to go along with that, I'm just gonna add a few of these coins right over here. And now finally, to finish off this lunch, for Skylar's drink, she requested a green drink, but I'm just going to add a tiny bit on the side. This next lunch idea was sent in by Christy from North Carolina. Now again for this one, I'm gonna start with a sweet treat first because Christy requested some deliciously green pistachio pudding. Now that's gonna take a little bit of time to set up, so while that's happening, I'm going to move on to the main course. And for this one, Christy requested 2 different types of sandwiches. One of them is sweet and the other is savory. For the first sandwich, I'm adding a healthy layer of onion cream cheese, and then I'm topping that with thinly sliced cucumbers. And then for the sweet sandwich, I'm adding plenty of cinnamon brown sugar cream cheese, followed by some thinly sliced green apple. This sounds so delicious. I love this combination. Next, both of these sandwiches are getting the Leprechaun treatment. I'm using my Food Writer pens and a sandwich stamp to do this. Now moving on to the fruit. Christy also requested a combination of green kiwi and green grapes, so I'll go ahead and add those in. But then for her veggies, she asked for a rainbow of veggies. So I'll go ahead and add in some salad first. Then once I have that in there, I can add my rainbow of toppings. I'll add some sweet bell pepper for the red, carrots for orange. For yellow, I'm adding in some corn, and for green, some cucumber. Now I am gonna skip blue and go straight to the purple. For this, I'm just adding a little bit of purple cabbage. This turned out so colorful and fresh, but it's definitely going to need plenty of ranch. Maybe even 2 ranches to go with it. Next, for Christy's snack, she requested some St. Patrick's Day mix. And you guys, I've made a bunch of these different mixes over the years, but for today, I'm gonna throw together a super simple, salty and sweet version. And when it comes to these mixes, you can really add anything you'd like. This time, I'm adding some traditional Lucky Charms cereals. This one has all the colorful mini marshmallows in it. Next, I'll add in some pretzels, some honey nut Cheerios, some salted peanuts, and then you guys, something extra special, I found this bag of just Lucky Charms marshmallows, no cereal at all. So if your favorite part of the cereal is the marshmallows, then you would love this. Now we'll go ahead and add in a scoop of this trail mix right over here. But then you guys, I am left with an empty space. So what I decided to add is more of the string cheese. And now back to our sweet treat. Our pistachio pudding has set up and it is super thick. And if you've never tried pistachio pudding before, I think it almost has like a maple flavor to it. It's pretty good. And you guys, to top the pudding, Christy suggested that I add some yellow sprinkles to kind of look like some leprechaun gold right on top. I love this, it is so cute. And then for her drink, Christy suggested making some leprechaun punch. And for this version, I'm just adding some sparkling water and some limeade. For today, I'm going to start with some green tortillas. Again, I'm sticking with that green and orange theme. To this, I'm just adding some room temperature cream cheese, followed by a few slices of rotisserie chicken deli meat. And then lastly, I'm also adding a layer of cheddar cheese. Now I'm going to go ahead and roll this up as tightly as I can, and then I'm going to cut it into pieces. I just love that bright swirl inside. I think it looks super cool. So now that the main course is done, I'm going to move on to the fruit. And for today's lunch, I'm keeping it simple with just some green grapes. I do have some little fun accessories to add in here as well. And then for the vegetable, I'm just adding in some crinkled cut carrots with ranch to dip as well. And then for today's snack, I'm going to be giving the kids some yogurt with just a few shakes of St. Patrick's Day sprinkles on top. And then for the treat, I have something really fun. I'm actually going to be making a little bit of a trail mix. In here, I'm going to start with some mixed nuts. There's also some dried fruits in there as well. And then the really fun part, I'm going to add a handful or two of Lucky Charms. And then finally, I'm also going to be adding some itty bitty pretzels in here. And then I'm just going to mix this all together. I'm going to drizzle this with a little bit of melted green chocolate. And then I'm going to add some green sprinkles. Once the chocolate has had enough time to harden, I can go ahead and add it into the lunch boxes. And there you have it, guys. That is everything in today's lunch. Next up, I'm making another subscriber-inspired lunch, and this one comes from Alexis from New York. For her main course, Alexis requested a peekaboo sandwich with PB&J. But you guys, I thought it might be fun to try to make this with rainbow bread. Now, in the past, I've made rainbow bread myself, and when I do, it comes out like this. It's lovely and colorful and swirled, but you guys, this does take quite a lot of time to make. Now, after moving to Florida, I found out that there is a local grocery store where you can order rainbow bread. But of course, the last time I did, it looked like this, which I did not think was really rainbow bread. Now for this week, I thought I'd go ahead and try ordering it one more time just to see how it would turn out. So now it's time to see if it's really going to be a rainbow or not. Oh, this is pretty pastel. I like the colors, but not quite what I was expecting. You guys, these are actually pretty cool looking, but I wouldn't really say that these are a rainbow either. I think these are almost Easter, like spring colors. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and make these into a peekaboo sandwich anyway. And to do this, I just use a smaller sized cookie cutter to punch out the center of the bread. And then Alexa suggested that I fill the center with green sprinkles. Now, you definitely do not need to have a rainbow bread to make this sandwich. I went ahead and made a regular bread version too, and I think I actually might like this one better. But you guys, let me know in the comments down below which one you prefer. Next, for the fruit, Alexa suggested some green grapes, and for the veggie, she suggested some shamrock-shaped cucumbers. Now, right in the center, I'm also going to add a few carrot spirals. Now, I do have a special cutter for this, and I was going to show it to you, but it actually just broke when I was using it. Next, for a snack on the side, I'm adding some rainbow goldfish crackers. And then for the sweet treat, I have another super easy shortcut idea. And for this, you're going to need some of these brownie bites. Now, you could make these yourself, but of course these ones are so easy and ready to go. All you have to do is spread a little bit of white icing on the top. And And then you're going to need some green M&Ms. And you guys, I'm not sure what's up with M&Ms these days. I just bought this bag, so it is definitely new, but look at them. They don't have that shiny coating like they normally do, and a lot of them look kind of broken and dusty. So I would love to know if any of you guys have purchased M&Ms these days. Are yours like this, or did I just get a bad batch? Or 2 bad batches? I don't know. Now really, it's not a huge deal. I am going to use them anyways, and I'm just placing 3 of them in the center, and that's to resemble a shamrock. And then I'm also going to add a little green sprinkle to each of them, and that is to look like the shamrock's stem. And now you guys, I'm finishing off this lunch with a rainbow smoothie because that is what Alexis suggested. Next up is a lunch idea sent in by Alexis from New York, and for her lunch, she requested a St. Patrick's Day theme, which I was super excited to see. I actually already started by making her treat first. This no-bake treat combines salty and sweet ingredients, and it's perfect for sharing. We call it Leprechaun bait. To make this, I combined Corn Chex cereal, mini pretzels, some Lucky Charms cereal, and some green peanut butter M&Ms. Oh yes, and as I made this, I made sure to reserve a handful of the marshmallows and the M&Ms so I could put those on top at the end. Next, to make this, I just melted 1 bag of white chocolate. I just did this in the microwave, and once that was nice and smooth, I just poured it all over and mixed it up. Once everything was coated, I just turned it out onto a cookie sheet and spread it out. Finally, I just topped it with remaining marshmallows and the M&Ms, and this part is optional, but you could also add some festive sprinkles in here too. Now this does take a few minutes to harden up, but once it's ready, you're left with a treat that is a crowd pleaser, and for me, I think it's kind of addicting. So now back to Alexis's main course. She requested a peekaboo sandwich with peanut butter that's also St. Patrick's themed. For her fruit, she requested green grapes, and next to that, she requested 4-leaf clover-shaped cucumbers. Next, I'm also going to slice up plenty of carrot coins. And to go along with all of these veggies, I'm also including just a little container of ranch. Next, I'm going to throw in some Baby Bell cheese, and I'm going to take that same 4-leaf clover cutter to just punch out some of the wax. So now that our leprechaun bait is nice and hardened, I can go ahead and add it into the lunchbox. And now last but not least, for Alexis's drink, she requested a green smoothie. Now that brings me to a lunch idea sent in by Evia from India, and she requested a rainbow themed lunch that has no sandwiches. For her main course, Evia requested a salad instead. First, I'm going to add in a mixture of greens. This also includes baby spinach, purple cabbage, and some carrots as well. And now I'm going to kind of press this in. I want it nice and flat because I'm going to top the salad with a rainbow. Now right down the middle, I'm going to add a little row of yellow corn. Next, I'm adding some thinly sliced orange sweet pepper. Followed by some thinly sliced sweet red pepper. For the green in our rainbow, I'm adding some shelled and steamed edamame. And finally, for the purple, I'm adding some thinly sliced onion. You guys, this is a super colorful salad. To go along with this, I'm also adding some bacon bits and some ranch dressing. Now moving on to Evia's fruit. First, I'm adding some purple grapes, and next to them, I'm adding some red raspberries. I'm finishing off this lunch with some mozzarella cheese, some chickpeas, and some of this delicious white cheddar popcorn. Now lastly, for her treat, Evia requested Skittles, but I decided to go with the classic ones. Let me know which ones you think is best. And then for her drink, since I already know she likes Skittles, I found these guys. I'm going to mix up one of these, and the pink one is actually a strawberry starfruit flavor. This next lunch idea was sent in by Michael from Illinois, and he requested a hot lunch with lots of green food for St. Patrick's Day. Now for his main course, he asked for buttered noodles. Now I know a lot of kids love this, and I was able to find the cutest pasta for St. Patrick's Day. Now believe it or not, I found this pasta at a home goods store. Normally, home goods is where you might go to find kitchen gadgets or home decor, but at least in my area, they almost always have some really fun seasonal pasta too. Now, I think the trick to this type of pasta is to not overcook it. Otherwise, that special shape tends to fall apart and get mushy. Michael requested only to add butter, Parmesan cheese, and a little bit of salt and pepper. Now you guys, let me know in the comments down below if you or anyone in your house prefers their pasta like this, without any sauce. Now moving on to Michael's fruit, I'm adding some green grapes, some zigzagged kiwi, followed by some green bell pepper, which I also cut into 4-leaf clovers. For Michael's salty snack, I'm adding some of these veggie chips, but of course I'm only adding the green ones. And then for Michael's sweet treat, he didn't actually request anything specific, he just put whatever I pick. So I decided to make some fudge. I know with the last name Fudge, you would think I'd be making fudge all the time, but I don't really make it that often. For this lunch, I decided to go with this rainbow white chocolate fudge. It is super easy to make and it only takes a few ingredients. It does, however, take a few hours to set up, so I made this ahead of time. All I did was take 3 cups of white chocolate chips, and I added those to a microwave-safe bowl with 1 whole can of sweetened condensed milk. Now, I just melted these together in the microwave, and it took about 1.5 minutes. Now, once this was completely melted and nice and smooth, I also mixed in a teaspoon of vanilla and a pinch of salt. Then all I had to do was pour this onto a lined baking pan, and I sprinkled the top with lots and lots of rainbow sprinkles. Now, after just a few hours in the fridge, it should look something like this. This fudge is nice and smooth and super tasty, but a little bit does go a long way. Next up, I'm making a lunch idea sent in by Addison from Arizona, and for their lunch, they requested a quick to put together lunch with a rainbow theme. For Addison's main course, I'm putting together a classic ham and cheese sandwich, but instead of using mayonnaise, I'm using some herb and garlic cheese spread instead. And now to make the sandwich look even more like a rainbow, I'm just going to use my food writer pens to outline my sandwich stamp. Next, for Addison's fruit, I'm adding strawberries, and these are also getting that zigzag cut. Then to go along with the strawberries, I'm also adding some star-shaped pieces of cantaloupes. For some veggies, I'm adding some fresh corn, and to go with that, I'm also adding broccoli and cucumber stars. Now, for Addison's sweet treat, I was asked if I could include a purple macaron. Now, unfortunately, even though I was able to find lots of different macarons at my store, guess how many of them were purple? Exactly 0. So instead of that, since this is supposed to be a quick and easy lunch to put together, I found these rainbow chip Rice Krispie treats instead. You guys, these are actually really cute. They have cute little rainbows on the packaging, and the little rainbow chips on top are the same type of rainbow chips you're gonna find on top of a cosmic brownie. And then lastly, for the drink, I'm just gonna fill up this super cute Hello Kitty water bottle with some reusable ice cubes and some water. Now, if you enjoyed all of these colorful lunches, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.